So Danny Mirowinski joins the show today. Welcome, man.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of chat with you again. Your company, Exit Built, is a newer company, right? The last year?
Last year. I started it just about a year ago.
Okay. Not your first go around with being a small business owner, though, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been ever since like 23-ish. I ran my own businesses. So everything from construction to snowboarding businesses. I ran a cannabis business, marketing business in the past, and then now I'm doing a marketing business again.
Okay. What do you like about being a business owner?
You control your own destiny.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's up to you to, it's got its ups and its downs.
Yeah.
But you make your schedule, you find the work, you find the clients, you build the products, you can sell what you want to sell, and bring value back into the community. So that's kind of the exciting piece, is finding gaps that you can then go in and bring a product or a service in that betters an entire community.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So I want to start out with Exit Built. Let's talk a little bit about that, and then we'll kind of dive into kind of your past and like what led you into like Exit Built and being a small business owner, that sort of stuff. But yeah, so let's start with Exit Built and what do you guys do there?
So Exit Built, we're a digital marketing firm. We specialize in local website design as well as SEO for getting businesses to be seen locally. So when you type in, best local podcast in Palm Harbor, right, then your result shows up. So then you can get the traffic in that way. It's a service really for any small business in local areas. We're specifically targeting Palm Harbor because that's where we are. That's where we're based. That's where I live.
Yeah.
But then also we're offering it to Dunedin, Oldsmar, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, and Newport Richey. So really the greater Tampa Bay area.
Yeah. Very cool. And so, so targeting small business owners, like did your, I guess, past experience like lead you into just working with that community, with that small business community?
Yeah. So, in the past, I've been an executive and a chief marketing officer for larger firms and a chief growth officer. And I've ran, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of campaigns over the course of a year. And I've also, prior to that, was in the digital marketing agency space. And one of the big reasons I came back into this space was, unfortunately, there's a lot of companies out there that prey on small businesses, and they offer expensive services, typically somewhere between $3,000 to $10,000 a month. Those services don't have the best interest of the business. They don't put, one of the things we say is your message is our mission. So they don't really take the time and take a consultative approach that we do. We try to empower the small businesses to not just do the work for them, but also educate them as to why this is important and how they can take it in-house. So after seeing a lot of bad players in the space, I really felt compelled to come in and offer, value back into this space. And the last thing I'll say about small businesses that's really cool is, if you help a small business grow, one of the best things to watch is as they grow and they bring on more employees and they create a bigger footprint in that community, the community uplifts with it. So it's kind of a fun mission on that front. Yeah.
Yeah. That's super cool. And like what you brought up about, the expensive services, I feel like, real estate has a lot of that as well, where these different marketing companies mostly like marketing companies are trying and paying for leads, right? Like, that's not cheap. But I get bombarded with messages, daily of like, hey, I'm a referral company. Like, are you willing to work with us? Or have you thought about this, this marketing campaign and that sort of stuff? And like, I've looked into some of them, and you're right. Like, it's not cheap. Like, these they're charging a lot of money,
and there's no guaranteed result.
Right.
And that's something that's an issue. And more importantly to that is, not only is it expensive, but oftentimes these are like cookie cutter services that they do outside of your industry. They target specific industries because they know that they can get quicker deals. But so now you get 100 leads, but they're, people from a totally different area.
Right.
They're not interested in buying, or they're not interested in selling. So, qualifying those leads, I mean, to really do that, as running your own thing and as any small business owner knows, your customer the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who you're targeting and who you're interested in. And on the digital space, we call that building like a digital avatar. So, everything from age, what their interests, things like that we build this digital avatar, who they are, and then we build value forward content to bring those leads inward, right? So it's less of, I could easily do a lead gen thing where I just send you hundreds of emails, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, great, I got the emails, and then nothing happens.
Right.
So, making sure that the value propositions there first is what actually brings in those quality leads. It's not just getting an email and a phone number.
Yeah. And then being able to convert those leads, like whatever business you're in, like that's probably the most challenging piece of that, right? Like you can get people into that database, into your ecosystem, but to have like a process or a system set up to make sure that they actually turn into dollars for your company is another.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, if you look at it, there's like the larger market formula basically states that about 3% of, and this is true across any industry.
Any business, okay.
So 3% are people actually looking to buy your service. Below that, you have people that are shopping, and that's 17%. Below that, you have people that are problem aware at 20%. So that's, they recognize that they have something, but they're not really out shopping yet. And then you have the lower half, which is 60% that are problem unaware. And that's where you can take in unique strategies. So how do you convert people that don't even realize that they have a problem for their for your specific need, right? And that comes through education. It's I always say, everybody's like, well, what's the secret sauce? And the truth is there is no secret.
Right.
There is none.
Right.
Think about it. It's true for how you build a relationship with anybody. Yeah. The first thing that you do is even if it's a friendship, what do you do in a friendship? You offer something of value to that person, whether that be helping them in a hard time, or it be, they have a need to build a fence or whatever, and you're like, oh, I happen to know a great place so you can get materials, or I have a good friend that's done it for me, I can make you a warm introduction. That's how you build relationships. And it's so true in the digital space. And what people miss is they do too much talking about them and, hey, look at me, look at my product, look how great I am. Nobody cares.
Right.
It's what they care about is, hey, what can I benefit from it, right? Where's the value to me? And a great example of that is, and this I would challenge anybody, if you're going to make $1,000 purchase, which is normally a pretty substantial purchase for just about anybody, typically what you do before you decide on a particular brand is you look at the reviews. Why? Because we're looking for outcome of that purchase. We're looking for the benefit of that purchase. Is the product durable? Does it check all your boxes? Have there been negative reviews? Are people not happy with the product? Most people look to that benefit area first, and then they convert over. So when you're putting out digital content, it's very important that you keep that in mind, that what's the benefit and how do you offer actionable items so that person or business or customer can start to apply it today and start to see the value of it. Right? Why
do you think business owners miss the boat on like that relationship piece and just want to talk about themselves? Like, where's that disconnect there?
It's easy. It's natural. We're all wired that way to talk about it. And quite frankly, most small business owners are very proud of what they've built, and they should be.
Right.
And it's not a discredit to them. I just think that they missed the boat on it because it's very easy to talk about what you do, what you offer, how you offer it, as opposed to re-engineering it to what's the benefit that you would get from even just following my content.
Yeah, right.
So it's a mind shift, and it's something that once business owners pick up on that, it's amazing to watch how the results change. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's kind of like having the conversations around the podcast and everything, and with all the different business owners that I've had, you notice it like when that business owner like understands that and gets that, right? It makes a big difference in just how they communicate on the podcast too and talk about their business. So how did you take us back to the beginning and kind of like, how did you, so I knew you were a snowboarder before.
what led you into like the small business space and kind of your experience and background there?
Yeah. So I'll have to take you back to college. So I got my degree in biology, and I had a scholarship for the research that I was doing. And I was dealing in multivariate statistics, which, not to bore anybody, but it was very complex mathematical equations and coding and things like that, very data driven. At the same time, and I also had international publications. I was doing all sorts of stuff there. At the same time that was happening, I was heading down a PhD path. I was also a snowboard instructor at the local resort. In tandem with that, I became one of the most certified snowboard instructors on the East Coast. Those connections ended up giving me the opportunity to where I had a chance to go work alongside of the U.S. Olympic teams out in Mammoth, and got to work with like Shaun White's former coach and other things like that. So I was left in this decision. And what was funny is as soon as I got the invite to come out, it's called Project Gold Camp and BK Pro, I got the invites for these things. I had just got a job offer with Merck. And I was like, what do I do?
So it's like right there in front of you.
Yep. So I did what any, 22, 23-year-old would do, and I pursued snowboarding.
Of course.
So in the process of snowboarding and coaching snowboarding at that level, you're not just a coach on the mountain. You're oftentimes, a fitness coach. You're their psychologist. You're their agent. You're their manager. And I was helping a lot with social media accounts. And that's when I kind of got my first taste into the digital marketing space.
Okay.
Unknowing that I was doing it.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 7 surgeries and not making much money because there's not much money in the snowboarding industry. And I met my now wife, who you actually hosted on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
And we wanted to build a family. And as I was looking at what it would take to become the actual U.S. Olympic slopestyle coach, because that was my preferred area, they work like 300 days out of the year. They travel full time. They don't make a ton of money. And oftentimes they're not married, don't have kids just because of how labor intensive it
lifestyle,
is.
Yeah.
And so I had to make a decision again. And I chose to pursue digital marketing because I had an understanding of it. And there was a local company called Logical Position. This was out in Oregon. It was one of the global leaders in PPC management, which is like Google ads and Facebook ads and things. Got a job offer with them as a sales rep and was with them for about 6 months. And I really learned all the ins and outs of digital marketing. So I took that kind of scientific background that I had and I applied it to all the data that's out there.
Yeah.
And then I took the coaching model that I had, because I am a coach at heart, and I kind of built this, way of providing the service where I was coaching how to do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had this deep knowledge of understanding, the data behind it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I started my own thing out of that. And I think my first job, I got off of Craigslist at like $25 an hour, and I was ecstatic. I was traveling all over the country and doing marketing gigs for all sorts of different companies, where we ended up in upstate New York, where I was around a campfire and serendipitously just happened to meet a gentleman who owned a government contracting business. And we just had casual conversation, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I own this government contracting business. What do you do for a living? Oh, I own this marketing business. And after we got to talking and I explained some of my methods, he was like, can you take that marketing weapon and apply it to recruitment? So I said, sure. So we ended up signing a contract, and what we were able to produce was we were bringing in about 20 resumes per month, which I later found out that through a recruitment firm would cost upwards of like $600,000. And if all of those candidates were hired, it could mean that the company was netting about $10 million in net revenue from those candidates. That company grew from 150 to 1,000 people after that point, and then exited for a lot of money. And that was really what opened my eyes to the power of digital marketing in the government contracting space. So now fast forward to right at the start of the pandemic, my wife was pregnant with our now 2.5, almost 3-year-old. And we were in upstate New York, and the birthing options were terrible. Mm-hmm. So we started looking for where can we have our child, and she found Breath of Life down here in Largo as one of the top rated places. And she's all into natural birth. So we came down here specifically to have our now 2-year-old. I had no intention of
Staying here, yeah.
So at that point, I had worked with a handful of other government contractors in like a fractional chief marketing officer capacity. And I'd already been in communication with a gentleman by the name of Andy Wilson, who owns Choir Professionals here in Tampa. And I hit him up and I said, hey, here in the area. And he said, come out for coffee. So I came to his office for coffee. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And 4 hours later, I left. He had about 40 hours of my consulting services and offered me a job as a chief marketing officer for a company he was about to acquire, Scion Analytics.
Okay.
So I called my wife up on the drive back and I was like, hey, great news. I got some consulting work and I got this job offer. And she was like, what? So it was kind of too good to pass up. So I took it and we settled in Dunedin at first at the Dunedin RV resort. We're still in the RV at this point.
Okay.
And I took over that team. I built a huge team underneath of me. We had a pretty big budget and we crushed it. We did, all of the stuff that I had learned in the past, I applied, and we were pulling in about 1.20 organic leads per day. And we had crested just north of 1 million impressions and 10,000 clicks per month all within 1 year, which is kind of unheard of. And that was all organic. So the organic strategies there that I learned were pretty powerful for the business. And then I ended up.
So so organic, meaning like you're not paying for ads or anything like that. It's just generating content, social media, websites, all that stuff.
Yep. Inbound leads. So 80% of all the clicks on Google happen on the first page. So that's why people want to rank on the first page, right? So again, going back to best, podcasts, local podcasts of Palm Harbor, you're the number one pick. And then you can look at the keyword research that says, hey, that particular keyword, Palm Harbor podcast, is searched 10,000 times per month.
Yeah.
So if you're the number one pick on there, you're likely to get roughly about 8,000 clicks per month just from being on that first page.
Sure. Okay.
So that's the SEO kind of strategy.
Yeah.
So after I left Scion, I resigned from there, still helped those guys out about the time that I started Exit Built. And then I became a chief growth officer for another tech company here called RevStar. And interestingly enough, Ken's a great guy. And what we were doing there was we were selling, I should have mentioned Scion had a SaaS product, a software as a service that we sold directly into government contractors. So it was a tool that government contractors could use to go win RFPs. So then after I left there, I went over with RevStar, and RevStar builds software for companies. So let's say that you wanted to create the Donny Hathaway app, right? These guys would come in and build the app for you.
Okay.
That's kind of the services that they did. I ended up around the holidays of this past Christmas time. My wife is pregnant with our now third, which we're expecting any week.
Yeah.
And I kind of had that, moment where I was like, what am I doing? I need to get back and do my thing.
Instead of bouncing around from company to company doing this consulting work.
Yep. And I also realized that I had learned a ton in that space, and all of this new AI technology was starting to come out. And I was like, wait a second, I can use this AI technology to scale my businesses, and I can provide this at a very low cost service to local businesses, and finally give them a real fighting chance of helping them out. And a lot of small businesses don't have an in-house marketing team, and they're going to these bigger firms. And I also noticed in the bigger firm space that a lot of people are sinking their teeth deeper into the small businesses because of the AI stuff coming out. They were trying to distance these small businesses away from things like ChatGPT and things like that, because oftentimes in some of those contracts, like a $3,000 SEO contract might get you 2 blog posts per month.
Crazy. Yeah.
And then they're doing all the back end stuff, which is nothing. And a lot of businesses don't realize that because they just don't have the tech savviness to it. So we're an AI forward company, and we literally, not only do we bring the service, but we also teach businesses. Actually, the Palm Harbor Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to talk about that on June 20th. But that's when I realized I need to get back into the space, and this is where I can make my big impact and help businesses. It's more, yes, I'm a for-profit business and I want to make money, but I want to make money in delivering value that helps other businesses go and make money. So that's really kind of what, long story short, long story long. Yeah, that's how I got to where I am.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's such a unique story, right? So I definitely wanted to dive into that and, kind of let people hear, how you've like bounced around and kind of got into this space where you're at now. Why do you think like marketing is so expensive and such like, it's either confusing or just difficult for people to kind of grasp, understand. Why is that?
There's a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
So you are paying for intellectual property, right? If you've never ran an ads campaign, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just throw money at Google and you'll rank, right? Google will gladly take up your money and they will give you impressions and clicks all day long and do absolutely nothing for your business.
Yeah.
So, the science behind on how you do that. There's also the auditing portion of it where you need to audit both your customer base as well as your competitors on the digital front. So there's direct competitors and then there's digital competitors. And the way I like to describe this is, let's say you have a roofing company. A direct competitor would probably be another roofing company servicing your area. A digital competitor could be a hardware store. And they're pushing shingles or roofing nails or roofing guns.
Yeah.
And those keywords are when you're looking for best, roof.
Yeah.
You might see the material versus the company, right? So understanding what your digital competition looks like is a challenge too. There's the digital marketing agency world is huge. There's I think the last I checked, there's about 65,000 businesses across the world globally in digital marketing. And it's a growing industry. I think it's right around, don't quote me on it, but it was north of like 100 billion. And there's a lot of bad players in the space. A lot of them will retain ownership of your accounts. So for instance, if you had me build you a website, I could build it in my instance and then license it back out to you.
Sure.
And then if you decide, oh, you know what, I don't need your services anymore, and then I'm like, oh, well, I'll sell it to you, or I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in the space. There's also, I have a client right now that they hired on a company. The company did a plugin for their website that they own, the marketing company owns, and it's critical functionality to the entire site.
Yeah.
So again, sure, take it. We'll give you the one-off license for our plugin, but on your end, if you wanted to take it in-house, you have to understand how to do web development and coding and things of that nature to even make a change onto your website. Google Ads is the same thing. People can manage it within their own ad platform and not in you don't retain any of the ownership. So there's a lot of bad players, and not all of them are that way. There's some good businesses too. But that was an area that I really wanted to address is we build everything in the customer, for the customer. They own everything. We don't own a single thing. They cut the contract with us, no problem. They get all their IP.
Which makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about the relationship and the value that you're providing as a business. And I think maybe it's like marketing is so complex and there's so many different ways to go about it. Right. That you have those companies that kind of take advantage and try to like hold on to that business that way.
Yeah. And another point to that is they also tend to do things behind a closed curtain. So let's say you're like, hey, you hire my company and let's say I operate a different way. You'd say, hey, I want to rank for X, Y, and Z. Sure. So we do it all on the back end. We don't tell you how we're doing it. And then it just comes out and then you're ranking for X, Y, and Z. Great. Well, the reason why they put that curtain up is because if you knew how to do it, then you could be working yourself out of a job. So they're trying to figure out ways to ensure that they have retention with their customers. We take the opposite approach. We take a consultative approach. So we actually teach you, like I said, there's no secret sauce. I want to rank for X, Y, and Z. Okay, Donnie, here's the keyword research that we're going to do. Here's how we did the keyword research. Here's the content that we're going to push out. Here's how we built the content. You approve it all. Here's how we do the back end SEO work on this. Here's the amount of content we need to put out. All of this stuff is your information. It's your IP that you get to retain. And the ultimate goal, and it's funny, is it's so true for most businesses. If you help a business and train a business and build a capability for that business, even if they take it into house and they start to run it themselves, I have clients that come back to me and say, thanks for doing all that, Danny, but honestly, I don't have the bandwidth and I don't want to hire anybody. We'll just hire you to do it.
Right.
But now you're transparent and the business knows that you're working in their best interest. And that's just, that's a piece that's really missing out of the space. Digital marketing agencies all try to hide their secret sauce because
I'm different
look at my results, look at my results, look at my results. And it's less of that and more of, no, we're going to get you results and we're going to teach you how to get them yourself too.
Yeah. Which is so valuable. And like you said, it's, even though like I may know how to do all that, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go do it, right? Because that takes time, bandwidth, like you said, and energy to implement all that and track all of it and, make sure that I'm getting the results that I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's important that you have the education on how it's done.
Yes.
Because when you do see the results, then you are the thought leader of your business, period.
Right.
So when you understand, at least at a high level of how this is functioning behind you, it's your decision at the end of the day to say, actually, I want to go for this. And it helps empower small businesses to become more strategic in their decision making and to make better decisions and data-driven decisions that adjust the system that's behind it, right? So educating small business owners is critical. And that's a piece that, like I said, a lot of businesses just don't do. Yeah,
I love that. How do you see AI? Like, obviously, you're using AI a lot in your business, but it's still relatively new, right? How do you see it kind of like moving forward with marketing, with small businesses and everything?
Well, AI is actually, let's just clarify first. So true artificial intelligence is not here today. There are subsets of artificial intelligence that's been around for a long time. For instance, being able to take a picture with your phone and converting it to a PDF that uses a portion of AI called object character recognition. That's been around for 10 years. The company that I was with Scion, we were selling AI, a subset of AI called natural language processing. AI has been around for a long time, and I was using generative AI solutions even back before ChatGPT ever showed up. Now that ChatGPT is here, we were one of the early adopters back in November when it first was released. And the thing about AI is if you're not starting to use it in your business every single day, you will get left behind. It's just is what it is. It's here. It's not going away. Is the Terminator apocalypse coming tomorrow? Probably not. But it's the adopters that are doing this now. It's just like when Google first came out. I was in my undergrad and I actually got passed from one of my courses because I was a bit of a problem child in my college. I didn't do homework. So I didn't feel like I needed to memorize all these terms. And I had the first generation iPod Touch, right? So I could do Google on my iPod.
Nice.
And I remember one of my professors was like, you need to memorize this. You need to memorize this. I'm like, why? I have Google. So if you think about like all of these technology advancements, there's always going to be the people that push back on it. And then fast forward 5 years from now, if you decide that you're truly not going to use any of this technology, you're going to be left in the dust. I highly encourage the applications, and we post all daily on our page, all different types of applications that you can do with these generative AIs. But it's if you're a small business owner, you're already wearing so many hats. Why not save time in some of these areas where you're wearing hats? Or if you are weak in one area, why not use that technology to make you stronger? It is what it is. We're here. It's now. And it's it's an exciting time to be a part of it. It's time. I push everybody to use it.
Yeah, it is. And it like frees up bandwidth. Like you were saying before, like, even if you don't, like I use it just to, like, if I have an idea or, I can't, I'm stuck on something, I just, type it in there and it spits out, 5 or 6 bullet points, whatever it is. And then it frees up my mind to kind of like dive deeper into that topic, whatever it is I want to do.
Yeah. A great example is, people are everybody's like, oh, it's going to replace jobs, right? If you're a content writer, it's going to replace you.
Right.
It's not. it's all about how you prompt it. If anything, it's going to enhance the creativity of these folks, right? So any writer's block that you get, like you just mentioned, you can use it to kind of curb that, so you don't have to sit for a day to rethink your brain.
Yeah.
It's also when you get into prompting, right? It's still an art. So if you think about like, I want to compare two different types of wines in a specific area on a specific time and a specific vintage. And I want to compare that with, in the voice of a young, middle 20-year-old and, the best foods that should go with it. If you start giving it all this information and then it generates content on that, is it the AI that's doing that, or is it the creative piece that empowers you to have it build you that canvas? And then as the creative side, that it's not like you're going to copy and paste every single thing, but you have your canvas that you can then go through and adjust. And now all of a sudden, a very informative article on, high-end wine, it takes you a day or less, as opposed to taking you a week to do.
Right, because you're still going to do the research. It's just doing that for you.
Yep.
At much faster speed.
Yep. So, and that's just one silly example, but
yeah. Where do you see the future of it? Like, how do you see it being used in business going forward?
So even right now, I have like all of my departments as different threads inside of ChatGPT. So it's going to touch every single aspect of the business. What I see happening is that just like on cloud services, there's certain services that you can pull down from the cloud and put it into your own environment. So I do see here in the near future that you're going to be able, right now you can tap into an API to the technology, which those that aren't familiar, it's kind of like a wire that you can plug into their system.
Yeah. And
it can use your data, right? What I see is that they're going to offer licensing where you can take that technology and put it into your own cloud environment with your own data, and it's in your own house, in your house.
Yeah.
So it can do a lot of things, like everything from go through all of your emails, and if you've been in business for a long time, all of your emails that ever generated revenue, what were the top generating emails, what was the structure of those, who was the customer, all that other stuff. You can get into your CRM data. So I do see it becoming this really virtual assistant to assist on all avenues of the different businesses. And we're just talking the text portion, the NLP portion of it, that I haven't even touched on. There's voice, there's video, there's imagery, all of these things. So it's going to really just, again, give a huge competitive advantage to a business, even small businesses, to just be more productive faster.
Yeah.
So
adopt it, get in it, use it,
get in it,
make mistakes.
The wave's here. You can either paddle into it, or you can duck dive, and the next wave will come and crash it. So
well, cool. So I want to end with when you're not working, you're not with your family, or maybe with your family, but what's one thing that you really enjoy doing, whether it's going to a small business, or just something you really enjoy doing in this area?
So we go to the beach.
Yeah.
Quite often. And
I think Brady had the same answer.
Yeah. After you spend, 12, 15 years chasing the worst weather in the world and the coldest conditions and rain and sleet and snow, and, I was always in cold conditions. It's kind of nice to be in perpetual summer. So I like going out on the beach, hanging out with the family. I like going, I also am building my own products as well, like technical products, software. So I really enjoy getting back into that space as kind of like a hobby right now, but it's something that's also, it's kind of work related. But when you own your own business, you don't really, you're not a 9-to-5 employee.
There's that free time, the creativity and everything.
So, but beach and coding right now.
That's cool. Do you miss the cold weather at all, or any aspect of it, or?
I do. And one of the things that I miss was just the amazing athletes that I work with and watching them progress. I'm actually, one of my big goals here in the near future is to stand up a nonprofit called Think Cold. And the nature of that and what I learned in competitive sports, especially in extreme sports, it's a solo sport. So it's very similar to entrepreneurship. When you're about to go hit an 80-foot jump and do 3 flips and 3 spins and everything else in the air, right? It's just like when you're about to start a business, in the sense of You have to run in, you have to be confident. You're going to, leave the jump at the right angle. You're going to throw just the right way. That's the process, right? And then as you're starting to see your success, be able to spot your landing and land clear, that skill set I've noticed is very transcendent over to entrepreneurship. So I want to create a nonprofit where I can give back to the community that gave me so much, to where I can bring on workshops and things of that nature to help these athletes realize, especially the younger athletes, realize that these are life skills that they're learning right now, not just to do a cool trick and get a medal, but these are skills that they can apply outside of their industry and actually create revenue in their own business.
Yeah.
So that's the part I'd say that, I miss giving back to that side. I took too much from snowboarding when I was in it because it was my career. Now I want to really find a way to give back, and that's the way that I believe I can give back the most successfully.
Yeah, that's cool. Circling back to your roots.
Yep.
I like it. Like it. Well, Danny, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. We'll link your website and everything in the description below. And you have your workshop coming up at the Harbor Chamber.
Yep, June 20th. It's 11:30 to 1.
Okay.
So that one, it's ChatGPT for small businesses 101. So it's on their website, and if you want to link that, you can.
We will.
So feel free to register. They said they're bringing lunch and snacks, so you get free food. We're not charging for that, and it's going to be super interesting. I think that we're going to show people how they can use it on all different fronts, and then I'm actually going to pull someone from the audience and start to configure a thread for their particular business.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be highly engaging, interactive, and very informative.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Donnie.